Welcome back, everyone, to MorningLine on this Thursday. We are an interesting program this morning. I invite you to join in the conversation. You see Murfreesboro law enforcement. To my immediate left is outgoing Murfreesboro Police Chief Glenn Chrisman. Wanted to have him on before he leaves at the end of the year, as he is going into retirement. And I'm going to miss this man a lot. He is a good man, and I'm glad he joined us today. With him, of course, is Public Information Officer Kyle Evans, Sergeant Kyle Evans, and Major Clyde Atkinson. Both of you guys deal with me all the time.
The faces of the Murfreesboro Police Department in the media.
That's exactly so, and they do a fine job of it.
Outstanding.
Let's take a quick phone call, and then I want to get their thoughts on you, if you don't mind. Let's go to Joe. Joe, good morning.
Good morning, Dick.
Hey, Joe.
I just wanted to give a shout out to the chief. Although I don't live in Murfreesboro, he's a fine, upstanding gentleman and a chief. And I hope that the next chief coming in, he set a high standard for the next person that takes his job. Mm-hmm. And I wish all chiefs of police in the state of Tennessee could live up to the same standard that Chief Chrisman has. And I appreciate his service.
Joe, thank you very much for your comments. I'm humbled by that, and it's been a great honor to be of service to our city and to the people that visit Murfreesboro. And I think you come into this work to be of service to citizens and people like you and people that have supported not only me but us over all these years. Make that possible. And that's really why we get into this work to start with. So thank you very much for your kind comments, and I feel sure our department will continue to excel and be even better than it is now. Thank you for calling.
You know, I'm real curious, real quick, as to piggyback on that question. If you were to sit down with the new chief, and again, everyone who is in your position brings their own style, philosophy. In general, we all know it's to protect and serve, and we hear that line, and everyone tries to live up to that. But what would you say the biggest challenge for any police chief is truly behind the scenes, the stuff that we don't see? I mean, obviously, catching the crooks and all that, that's your biggest challenge. You want to keep the streets safe. But behind the scenes, administratively or otherwise, for you maybe, what is the biggest challenge? Is it balancing the budget? Is it trying to find a way to keep morale up among officers? Is it hiring? What would you say is the biggest challenge? Maybe that was for you behind the scenes.
I think the biggest challenge for police chiefs is making sure that the team is focused on what the objectives are, what the mission is, and that they are connected to the community.
How do you do that? Do you have meetings and sit down and talk to them? Will you have assemblies where you address the whole department?
We do some of that, but we depend on upper and mid-level management to deliver that message, because in an organization our size, for the police officers that are going out there and answering the calls every day,
different shifts and everything,
you have to have sergeants and lieutenants that are carrying that management message, because they're in the trenches with the officers every day. They're supervising them, they're making assignments, they're doing evaluations, they're unfortunately doing disciplinary actions and those kinds of things. So those frontline supervisors and middle-level management folks really are the ones that are driving the operations of the department every day. And so you have to communicate with them. You have to communicate with your employees. You have to try to hire and mentor the best of employees that you can find, because those are the people that the citizens see. They're the people that come to their distress calls when they're needed, and make arrests, prosecute cases, solve their problems, basically, is to the best of our ability. So I think the biggest thing that the police chiefs have to do is make sure that you have good people in those roles, make sure you have good supervisors in positions to help facilitate the work that they're doing. And then you got to provide them with the best tools and training and preparation that you can to do the very difficult and dangerous work that they do every day, along with all of those other administrative things that you mentioned and more, frankly.
Oh, yeah, I know. The administrative stuff, and a lot of chiefs I talk to, and you include, you have your good days and your bad days. Sometimes it can be stressful. I wanted to ask you guys, one of the things I admire about this department is transparency. And Kyle, and I know Clyde, you too, sometimes there are things sometimes that come up that, you just wish didn't have to come up, but they do. And I know it starts at the top, but it seems to me that he gives you both a lot of autonomy. That he trusts your judgment. Certainly, you bounce things off him. You let him know. I think I'm right on that.
Absolutely.
But when maybe you have a situation where an officer runs astray, or there's something along those lines, what have you learned from him in terms of how you deliver this type of news to get it out there, as opposed to maybe just trying to bury it and not commenting?
Well, Nick, the instruction from day one for me has always been, let's be honest. The facts are what they are. Let's be transparent, and let's tell the good stories when we have good stories. We've got a lot of good stories every day at the Murfreesboro Police Department, and when we have the bad stories, we'll tell them too, and we'll just get that out there. And over time, and it's proven to be the case, the good stories far outweigh the negative stories. Everybody makes mistakes, and when we own up to them, they come and they go. But the good stuff is what lives on, not just at the police department, but in our community. We get hundreds, if not thousands, of calls and letters every single year from people who are happy with the services of the police department and are pleased with the things that are happening. And we get less than 50 negative or complaints against police officers that are investigated and so forth. So really, the bad things come, but the good things happen so much more often. And it's always been our mission to get that good word out there. And when the bad stories happen, just deal them when they come.
It runs the news cycle. And I know, Clyde, you're involved with Crime Stoppers. When we talk about good stuff, you organize a lot of that stuff. Night Out Against Crime, the Crime Stoppers. Talk a little bit about that in terms of, I think the chief was saying, you want to make sure the people underneath him know to get out in the community, let them know you're doing your jobs.
Well, I think that's it. When I first came into police work had closed doors. And I think under Chief Crispin's leadership and viewing the future, he said, let's take the opposite approach. Let's open the doors to the police department. Let's build some credibility with the citizens of not only Murfreesboro, but Rutherford County. So under his guidance, Rutherford County Crime Stoppers was started. DARE was started. National Night Out, we started. The GREAT program. And I could go on and on and on, but under his guidance, he said, let's build trust with the community. Let's open the doors. We have no secrets. We have nothing to hide. Citizens Police Academy has been great. We didn't get on board at first, but we went around, at his guidance, went around to a number of different agencies surrounding our county. What are you doing right? What are you doing wrong? How are you building your Citizens Police Academy? And it's been great. We had our graduation class last month, and even had part of the Alumni Association come back and help serve at Christmas dinner. So everything he's done has been a community-oriented type policing project. Open the doors. Let's tell our story, as Sergeant Evans was saying, but let's be honest and let's be truthful to the public.
You hit it on the head. That's the thing. I wish more chiefs were like you in that way, and more are. There are a handful of them out there, but you talk about, where did that philosophy come from you? That you have two PIOs, and Clyde did it at one time, of course Kyle is now, but I mean, to have that openness, because he's exactly right. The openness brings trust. It's transparent. It's not, what's going on there? How did you come to that? Because not all chiefs do that.
Well, and I have to give a lot of credit to my predecessor, Bill Jones.
Okay, I was going to say.
Who was Commissioner of Safety for the state of Tennessee and was our Commissioner of Police for 17 years, who mentored me, and I worked with him very closely for a lot of that time. Other chiefs that have preceded both of us, our mayors and councils and our city managers, I think they've all been a part of that philosophical approach to community involvement, community policing, all of those kinds of things. But I think more than anything, perhaps, I think that's what the public expects from us now. They call on law enforcement, and in our case, police, when they have some kind of need and they don't know where else to turn to get help with whatever that particular need is. It could be something as simple as a lockout or a motorist assist, or as serious as, a major crime that's occurred that involves them or whatever. But I think to the extent that we're able to communicate as well as we can with the public and build relationships and involve the public in finding solutions to the problems of crime that affect them and their quality of life, then that's when the police department or any law enforcement agency is at its peak of effectiveness and community support. That's when we're at our best. the more information that you can provide, the more transparent that you are, the more responsive that you are to community needs, the more successful that relationship's going to be. And I learned a lot of that from Bill Jones. I've learned a lot of that from our city managers and our mayor and council, and from citizens, frankly, because they're the ones that are paying for what we do with their hard-earned tax dollars, and they're the ones that tell us when we're doing good or not so good.
Yeah, you know what? You're right. As we go to the break, transparency counts for a lot in building trust, not just with your constituents or the people in your community, but with the media as well. And Kyle's probably told you before, I mean, as he does with a lot of departments, Phil Williams and our I team looks at things, is always looking for. He's looked at your department along with others, and I know, don't know what he was looking at, but you guys were very helpful as he went through that with a lot of others, and the transparency counts for a lot. And you might notice he did not do any stories, did he? So maybe he didn't find anything. Listen,
when we come back, I want to talk about that.
Okay, let's do that. We'll do that, and also want to talk to you about just some of how you've addressed, and I know you're outgoing now, but law enforcement's under more scrutiny now than ever before with regard to some of these horrible shootings that have happened around the country, and the stressors and the cases and the riots that we've seen happening all across the country where this has happened. That can happen anywhere.
It can.
And that's what's a concern, and just how you deal with that as we move ahead. We'll take a break. Be back more with outgoing Murfreesboro Police Chief Glenn Chrisman and his staff right after this.